you said that some of the stuff is valid. I was wondering if you could say something about that, and whether you think that there's other sources that might be just as good for that valid information.
Okay, you said some of the things are valid. Do I think there's some other sources that would be valid?
That might be just as good, yeah.
Yeah, I do. Some of the things that I thought were great, I'll just tell you my own. I think their communication course, I liked it. Some people really don't. I think it's fantastic. I think it teaches some very basic skills in communication that most of us can use. I think their study tech is excellent. The basic of study tech, if you want to know for like Tom Cruise what he believes in, it's basically look up your words in the dictionary. Hubbard said often if you can't understand something, you have a skip gradient, meaning you went from 1 to 5, missing 2, 3, and 4, right? And then the other one, they're very simple things, but they're very powerful. They really are. And then the other one is lack of mass, meaning you might be studying about a ship, but you've never really looked at a ship. So he's like, go out and look at a ship, touch it, feel it, get the mass on it. That's the study tech, yes. So those are a couple of things. I think the grades, their original grades, counseling is very, good for a lot of people. A lot of people enjoyed it. I think Dianetics is okay, frankly. I do. It's like talk therapy. I used to do Dianetic seminars and put them on, and I thought people had very nice wins with them. The fact that you think you can go clear is where it's very destructive, because you're constantly guilty because you're not really clear. You know what I mean? That's the negative end of it. But if you just did the Dianetic auditing, I think it's fine. It's like talk therapy. Yes?
I have two questions. One is for, I have two questions. One is more general, and that's about, do they have any kind of belief in an afterlife? Or they certainly have a belief in a previous life. But do they have something that happens to good Dianetics people after they die, or do they ignore that? My second question is, I have a friend, a good friend, who is in Dianetics, has been for years. I've lost track of her, but she always refused to tell me what state she comes from. I wonder if that's part of erasing the something.
You mean what, literal state in America?
Yeah, she won't tell me.
That's a new one. I've never heard of that one. That's a good one. What state are you in? I'm not telling you. I'm a Scientologist. Well, I don't know. She might be considering she's an operating Thetan, so she doesn't have to still be identified as a state or something. That one I don't know. But as far as do they believe in living afterwards, definitely. They sign a billion-year contract if you join staff at the Sea Org. They got to be coming back somewhere. Now, the sad part about that is they do not take care of their elderly people at all. And I saw people, they just pitch them out. Hubbard said you're either upstat or downstat. Upstat meaning you're productive, making money, doing well. Downstat, you're not. And so whenever they do their things to help the homeless, it's really just for PR. Because Hubbard would have said, I asked him once, I said, what about the poor people? What about, people that need help? We'll get them next lifetime. That's what Hubbard said. It's funny, but it's horrible when you think about it. And when you see what hypocrites they are, it's really horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, given that Hubbard was, he was a hard drinker, he was a chain smoker, he was a bigamist, does any of that...
Speaking to the mic more.
Okay, given that Hubbard was a hard drinker, he was a chain smoker, he was a bigamist, did any of that, were you aware of any of that while you were in Scientology? Or are any of his flaws available to the...
No, that's a good question, and no, you're not. That's one of the really, it's tragic, really, when you think about it. But as soon as you walk in, if any of you ever get a chance, and I highly recommend everybody goes to the Hubbard Life Exhibition, because you have never seen so much BS in your life. But, truly, the guy at the end, after all this stuff about how wonderful he is, and they're always just telling you how wonderful he is, and he wrote this, and, frankly, in a way, I'm not sure if he's a genius or not, because he did write a ton of stuff, and he did make 1 billion tapes. When you're on it, you have to listen to his tapes, and he drones on and on and on. And he's always throwing in all these really hard-to-find words. When I got in, they had a little stack of cards for hard-to-find words. You could find them in some dictionary, but very hard to find. Now, when I left, they have a book about like this, with hard-to-find words. They're just on and on and on. And remember, in Scientology, you could never, ever go past a misunderstood word. So every time you'd say these stupid words, we had to go look them up and trace them down. But you know, as far as all of his flaws, no, I knew nothing. I had no idea until I got out, and until I got out. It took me a while to confront and actually read. I'm still reading about it, and I'm just amazed. I mean, I saw a video where Hubbard says, Hubbard had 3 wives, right? But he says on the video, he's got long stringy hair. Huh?
All at once or sequentially?
No, sequentially. But he has long stringy hair and black teeth, and he says, oh, no, I only had 2 wives. So that means he just erased one of his wives. You know, it just...
He
He's
did
just
marry
a
his
liar.
second wife before divorcing his first wife.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Okay. See, I'm always learning something myself. Yes, here.
I wonder, has anybody been seriously hurt by the Scientologists? You're saying they come after you and stuff?
It's a very good question. Well, I would say Lisa McPherson. If you ever want to see someone harmed, you can go on the internet and type in Lisa McPherson. She was locked in a room for 17 days with the introspection rundown and basically died of dehydration. But you can see she has bug bites and bruises all over her. And they have to keep a written record of everything they do. So there's a written record on the internet of every day they're with her. And it's horrible. I mean, they're jabbing turkey basters down her throat and, you know, drugging her. And, you know, it was a mess. It was an absolute... The fact that they got out of that case is just unconscionable. That they got out of that saying they didn't kill her. Because she died, supposedly, at the Fort Harrison Hotel, which is their hotel in Clearwater, Florida. She died there, which is where they said they had her. But she was dying, and they said, get her to a doctor. Now, Morton Plant Hospital is right next door, because I was in it. They could have put her there, she would have been alive. They didn't want to do that, because that's bad PR. So they drove her 30, 40 miles out to a doctor who's a Scientology doctor, and she died on the way. That's what they said. That's it. But that's only one. The other thing to answer that question is tons of people die in Scientology. Tons. And I'm not exaggerating. I mean, many of my very dearest friends are dead. I know 6 kids who've killed themselves. Personally, I know them. 2 who hung themselves. One of my doctor's daughters just hung herself. And my son's best friend shot himself to death. And most of them either wanted out of Scientology or they had one parent in and one parent out. And I think it's kind of a combination of like a rubber band and their disconnection policy, which is so destructive to families. And it's one of the major reasons I speak out, and I forgot to tell you this. Because if you got in, let's say you get in, and your partner doesn't, they're going to say to you, you got to get rid of him, or her, or whoever it is. Do you see what I mean?
What happened to your husband?
He disconnected from me. He divorced me. And now he's trying to say I left him. I'm like, let's get a couple things straight here, pal. First of all, I didn't leave you, and you know it, okay? But if you want to get, bottom line, my door's open. Come on over. I don't know where you live. I don't know where you eat. I don't know where you work. You won't talk to me. So don't say I left you, because I didn't leave you. You disconnected from me, and that's what happened. I said that on Inside Edition. I looked right into the camera, and I said I lost all my friends of 30 years overnight, which I did, and I said I lost my husband of 27 years.
What about kids?
And he called me up and he was really mad about it. My son is great. I don't really talk about him because I don't want to bring him into it. But he's a great kid. Yes.